Hello everyone, my name is Umar Sheikh and welcome to the YouTube channel of Australia Immigration Matters. In today's video, we are going to talk about the most important and hot topic these days, which is migration system overhaul. So Australia has been planning to upgrade its migration system since last year as they think that their system is broken and not fulfilling the purpose. So for this cause, they formed a migration reforms committee which published its final report in the month of March this year. Later in the month of April, their Minister for Home Affairs did a press conference to release the findings of that report with the public. So we have done our research and studied the report and came up with this video to share the knowledge with you guys so that you can plan your migration strategies accordingly. But before beginning the research part, I would like to request you guys to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. So let's begin. I would be walking you through the research deck which we have prepared for you guys so that you can understand the whole concept in a structured way. So one thing you need to understand is that the migration system overhaul is not an overnight thing. It has already started and it will take time to implement in its full shape. It will take this whole financial year to actually get implemented in full. So what we have done is, based on our research, we have summarized all the major changes in the form of seven major highlights. So our key takeaways from our research are as follows. So if you so let me go through it. So the first change, which has already happened as part of this overhaul, is increase in the testament level. The testament, what is testament? Testament is actually temporary skilled migration income threshold. Number two change is about the PR pathways for temporary residents. Number three change is about the citizenship pathway for New Zealanders. Number four is about the international students visa eligibility. Number five is about the simple visa types and occupation lists. Number six is about the new pathways for skilled migration. And last but not the least, number seven is about the changes in the points test advice or changes in the points test system. We will go one by one through these expected changes, but before going there, we would like to touch upon the context or the background why Australian government thinks that these changes are essential. So let's talk about the context first. As we mentioned earlier, that there was a review of the migration system by the Migration Reforms Committee, and report was given to government in the month of March, and they released the findings in the month of April. So basically, their Minister for Home Affairs, Clare O'Neil, did the press conference, and we have collected the key highlights of that press conference to build a context through in this video. So let's go one by one about those key highlights. The number one highlight is that the Clare O'Neil spoke at the National Press Club in Canberra, and she discussed the report in detail about Australia's broken migration system. So this was happened in the month of April. So let's go to the highlights part. The number one highlight is about the permanently temporary migrants. So the Minister for Home Affairs thinks that there are a lot of permanently temporary migrants in Australia who have no pathway for permanent residency or even citizenship. So they currently there are around 1.89 million people in Australia, which is about 7% of their population, who have temporary visas. So they think that this is a concern, this is a workload for their system, as people come as a temporary visa holders and they couldn't find the permanent residency pathway, and ultimately they keep on jumping from one visa to another, which is again a big mess for their migration system. Number two key highlight is about the international students dominance. Now she mentioned in the press conference about this particular problem, that the international students are the largest component of temporary migration program, and ultimately they are the biggest feeder into the permanent program. Actually what happens is that the international students who actually complete their studies while on the student visa, they are not a big problem makers. Actually the international students who skip their studies and ultimately find a work visa through some employer nomination or sponsorship, that becomes a problem for them, that their universities are actually doesn't fulfill the purpose of educating people because they are proud of their education system, and international students are actually skipping the studies, and not fulfilling the visa conditions, and ultimately become part of the temporary visas. So this is a problem for their ministry for home affairs. The number three highlight of the press conference was about the outdated occupations list. Now, their ministry thinks that currently the occupation lists are not aligned with the industry or future skills needs of Australian economy. They are thinking to revise or upgrade the occupations list and make it simple version of a single occupation list rather than multiple occupation lists. And also, it is becoming a blockage for the permanent residency pathway for futuristic and innovative skill sets. So they will be doing something about this as well. After that, they talked about the system bureaucratic challenges. They think that the currently system is very slow, very complex, and it takes a lot of time to move files from one system to another because they are not integrated well. So also there are hundreds of visa categories, and other than that, there are like 1,300 separate labor agreements which are tailoring these visas and taking the exemptions. So they are thinking to make the system simpler, not only in terms of the visa categories but also in terms of the process speed and form fillings, and they want it to be simpler for employer and for the applicants both. And lastly, they talked about the broken points test system. So according to the press conference, they think that currently the migration point system is not working properly and the bar is set too low. So basically, they think that currently the point system is not balanced or is not at a merit for onshore and offshore applicants. We will talk about it later in the video when we will be addressing the expected change in the points test. So this is the context, or this is the background why Australia thinks that these changes are essential to make, and some of the changes have already been implemented. So let's talk about the expected changes one by one. So the number one change, as I discussed earlier, as I mentioned earlier, is about the TISMET, which is Temporary Skilled Migration Income Threshold. This change has already been implemented, and they have increased the TISMET from 53,900 Australian dollars annual to 70,000 Australian dollars annual since July 2023. The main purpose of this change was to avoid any exploitation by the employers if there was and there were that those were happening, and this will enable them to ensure the PR pathway policy for permanent residency for those people who are actually working in Australia on a temporary visa. For example, if someone is working on a 482 visa, a short-term stream, now they will have to fulfill the requirement of TISMET as well in order to apply for the PR pathway through employer nomination scheme. So this is the first change which has already been happened as part of the migration system overall. The next change is about the PR pathway for temporary skilled visa holders. As I already mentioned that earlier, the short-term stream short-term stream 482 visa holders or TSS visa holders were not able to find any PR pathway, and they were moving from, or they were jumping from one visa to another, and they were actually sponsored by employers. So employers were actually, some of the employers were actually exploiting such scenarios. So what they have done is they have given the PR pathway to all kinds of employer nominated temporary skilled visa holders. So all TSS streams are now eligible for the 186 ENS TRT stream. So this is part of the ENS reforms, Employer Nomination Scheme 186 visa reforms, which they have already implemented on 25th of November. Now it is available for all TSS streams. Let's talk about the next change, which is expected or which has already happened. Excuse me. So the next change is about the people who are in Australia from New Zealand. Now, earlier, what was happening is that New Zealanders were also living in Australia, and they had to go through the PR pathway similar to other country applicants. So now, what they have done is they have eased their process, and now they do not need to go through the PR pathway. They just have to live in Australia for 4 years, and they can directly apply for the citizenship after clearing those 4 years requirements. So this is a good news for New Zealanders that they have a direct pathway to Australian citizenship now, and this has already been implemented from 1st of July. And if you are a New Zealander and you are on a special category visa, you are good to go after spending 4 years in Australia for the Australian citizenship without any PR pathway. And this will obviously offload some of the temporary visa holders load, as we discussed earlier. The next change is about the international students. Now, what has happened, and we have already witnessed that international student visas are getting delayed, and the visa refusal rate is high. People are actually waiting for months and many months for their student visas, and the reason is that Australia is making their student visa policy and rules and regulations a bit strict than earlier, because earlier the international students were coming to Australia for studies, but they were not completing the studies and then jumping to a temporary work visa and then to another work visa, and ultimately become a workload for their migration system. They wanted the true and genuine international students so that they can complete their studies, their universities can also serve the purpose, and ultimately they can become part of the Australia's economy after completing their studies through either post-study work visas or employer-sponsored work visas. So they are going to strict the visa policy and eligibility of international students, and they will be policing the compliance of visa conditions for all the student visa holders when it will be issued. So they will and they will also be monitoring your work rights through their ATO single touch payroll system. So keep that in mind. So this is planned, it is already happening, there is no announcement about it, but they will be monitoring the visa conditions and the visa compliance of international students. Then and let's talk about a quick we have summarized about the temporary visa holders, including the student visas and the New Zealanders. So if you see in the on the screen that there is a breakdown of temporary visa holders currently in Australia, which are around 1.8 million people in Australia. So if you see that the majority of them were New Zealanders, and the second highest proportion is of students. So 22% of the temporary visa holders are actually students who are actually on the student visa currently, but they jump from student visa to a bridging visa, then to a post study visa, work visa, or to a TSS visa and other visas, and they become the biggest proportion or component of the temporary visa. So this is a problem for Australian migration system, and they want to streamline it in a way that the system can be used fairly. You can also see the stats about the permanent visa holders or permanent visa applicants, which is the breakdown of 1.9 million. So this 1.89 million, which is temporary visa stock, this is actually 7% of their population, which I mentioned earlier. So let's jump to the next change, which can happen, which is anticipated to happen. That is about the visa categories and skilled occupation list. So what Australia wants is that they want their system to be less bureaucratic. They want their system to be simplified in a way that it is useful and it is easy to operate for the employers and for the applicants both. So most probably what they will be doing is that they will be reducing the number of visas. I am not talking about the skilled migration visas 189, 190, or 491. I am talking about the whole list of visas. If you go to the immigration department website and you see the list of visas, you will see like hundreds of visa categories. And other than skill visas, there are different temporary visas and partner visas and family visas were there, and also there were some special visas such as COVID visa and stuff. So they are going to simplify their system by reducing the number of visas, and they are going to simplify their skilled occupation list by reducing the number of lists and keeping a single or so list which has all those occupations which are actually required in Australia to contribute in the thriving economy. So we will be seeing updates about this, and we will be sharing more updates as we will be getting the authentic news in our group and on our YouTube channel as well. So this is again a simplification of the whole migration system is part of the plan, and you will be seeing the updates about it in the near future. Next change is about the new pathways for skilled migration. Now, this is a complex subject, and I will touch on this at a summary level only, and we will be talking about in detail later. So, what they are going to do is they are thinking that currently their existing migration system is not favoring the people who are highly skilled. So, they want to introduce special category, special lanes. Those could be a couple of lanes or 3 lanes for skilled migration, specifically for skilled migration. The number one lane could be about specialized and highly in demand skills, those having higher number of work experience years, and those having higher annual earnings. Then second lane could be about the mainstream skills, which have an average near to TISMIT average earning, and they are like in the middle management layer or in the middle career layer. The third would can be about essential skills stream, which could be exceptional cases who are not fitting in the first two. So you need to understand that these three or these two could be part of the migration strategy in future, and this is actually beneficial. If there are more pathways for permanent residency, this is actually a good news. So consider this as a positive news, as they will be bringing and adopting meritocracy in the system, so that the highly skilled and higher earners get a fast-paced route towards citizenship or permanent residency, while those who are like average skills and average earners can go through another swim lane. So they want to differentiate, and they will want to bring a merit on in their system in a way that it becomes the right fit for the people who they actually need. So they will be talking about the skill categories in the near future, and this can be announced along with the occupation lists change. So the next this is planned, and the next change is about the points test. This is the most important part of the change, and I guess everyone is actually looking forward to this. So what they are going to do is they are going to overhaul the whole skilled migration system. Now, this is a complex subject, and obviously it will take a lot of legal effort, a lot of digital and IT upgradation in the immigration system, and it's not going to happen like overnight or in a month or so. We anticipate that the point system change will take at least 6 or 8 months, and it can only commence from next financial year. So what is the actual change that could happen? They are going to recalibrate the points test. They think that currently it's favoring one category and it's not favoring another category. They want to recalibrate, they want to balance, and they want to make it as a system which is fair, which is up to merit, and it can serve the purpose of finding the right global talent for the Australian economy. What we have done is, as part of our research, we have identified 3 key markers which are important to understand as part of the possible change in the points test recalibration. The first key marker is about the age. Now, Australia is thinking to recalibrate its age criteria points in a way that once that as you guys might know that in Canada, what they do is, after you go above 30 years of age, your points start to get declining. You start to get declined, and ultimately it becomes zero at the age of 45. So they think in the same way. They think that currently the system is giving equal points to a 24 years old applicant, and also the same points are being given to a person who is like 36, 37, or 39 years old applicant. So they want to balance this in a way that they also want the younger lot, and they also want the experienced lot, and they want to balance the shift of overall age criteria by recalibrating the age. So this is key marker number one. The second key marker is about the English level. they might be introducing a granular breakdown of English level proficiency. Right now, there are three slabs of English levels. Number one is competent English, and proficient English, and then the third one, highest one, is superior English. They might be adding a couple of slabs in between superior and competent levels, as they want the whole system to be granular enough and detailed enough to be useful and to be fairer to everyone who is applying. So the second marker could be about the applicant's English, and the third marker could be about the number of years of experience. Now, what they think is currently the advantage of onshore Australian based work experience is more than the overseas work experience. They want to create a balance in between. Right now, what is happening is that if you have 1 year of work experience onshore in Australia, you get 5 points. Whereas in overseas, if you pass 3 years of work experience, you get 5 points. Now, what they do is, what they want is, they want to create a fair balance between these two situations, in a way that the years of work experience can be given us the right weightage in the whole EOI points test. So these are the three key markers which could which in which there could be a change happen in a way that they can change the weightage of these markers in the whole calculation of total EOI points. So stay tuned about further updates about these key markers and recalibration of points test. So again, the points test recalibration is planned, and we will be further explaining about it in the next slide, with the help of a use case. So let's discuss an example. So if you see a person like an applicant of 26 years old, he will get 30 points in age, and if he scores 20 in English skills, he is an onshore applicant and he has worked for 1 year in Australia. He gets 5 points, and then he gets 15 points for his education, or even if it is overseas. Let's suppose he has done bachelor's, and then he completes his master's degree in Australia. He gets 5 points of Australia study requirement, and let's suppose he has completed his study in the regional university. He will get 5 points, and let's assume he has also done the professional year program. He will get 5 points for that as well. We will also include common factors such as NATI, partner skills, and state nomination in the case of 190. And in this case, an onshore applicant can reach up to 105 points at around 26 or 27 years of age. On the other hand, an offshore applicant can go reach up to maximum of 80 points at the same age. His age points, his English skills points, his NATI points, his batch education points, partner skills, and state nomination points are same. The only difference is that in 4 years of time with overseas employment, he will only get 5 points, whereas in 4 years of time, an international student who studies from an Australian regional university and completes his professional year and completes his first year of experience, he gets 20 points. So this is a major difference. Now, this difference cannot be bridged it wouldn't be fair that these two situations or these two applicants should get the equal points, but the difference of 25 points is also a bit high, as per Australian Minister for Home Affairs. So they want to bring some harmony between such scenarios. So this is just an example to give you a view that how they are actually thinking to recalibrate the overall migration points test system, so that it becomes fairer for not only for onshore applicants but also for offshore applicants, because Australia is actually looking for the global talent, and they actually want the right skills for their Australian to contribute towards their Australian economy. So let's build a conclusion. What we have done is, based on our research, we have built a conclusion based on our own experience, based on our analysis, and we have came up with a few points to share with you. But overall, guys need to understand that it's not a negative change. You need to be hopeful, and you do not need to feel threatened from this change. This change will actually help not only the applicants but also the employers and also their system, so that they can streamline the overall migration system in a way that it can be useful and it can be faster and less complex. So we have built basically we have built a 6 point conclusion from the overall study of the expected changes. The changes are going to happen gradually. They are not going to push this to clear all the changes in like in a month or so. As you have seen that the changes have already started from 1st of July 2023, and it can conclude until the end of this financial year. The new occupations list can come by this month, by December, and along with there could be we would also be seeing some changes with respect to visa categories. Now there would be an impact on international students for sure, as they are going to change its policy. They might be strict. They might be stricting the rules. So you already seeing that the students visas are getting rejected. The student visas are getting longer than usual process. So that's one aspect. That can be a possible negative aspect. Now there is a good news for temporary skilled migrants, as now almost all the employer sponsored temporary skilled visas visa holders have the chance towards the permanent residency. So this is a good news. And then another good news for offshore applicants, as previously the merit was not balanced. So now Australian government is thinking to balance the merit by recalibrating the points test. And I believe, and this is my opinion, that it can actually go in favor of the offshore applicants if you are highly skilled, if you have got the relevant skills, relevant work experience, and if your occupation is also in demand. And last, as we have seen in different in different state invitation rounds as well, that currently, for example, Victoria is actually preferring the applicants who are either single or who have a skilled partner, and also they are preferring the English higher level of English proficiency. So these are 6 conclusions we have. Now, what now? One more thing you need to understand is that the most of the changes are related to 189 skilled migration visas when we talk about the permanent residency program. There would be changes with respect to 190 and 491 as well, but state and territories they have their own say as well as part of the change. So obviously they are party in this whole scenario, but there could be a chance that a 189 invitation round can happen even before all these changes, as they have an allocation, they have a quota for 189 invitation. So they might be conducting a 189 invitation round in the month of December or January before implementing all these changes. And most probably the new points test will be introduced from next financial year. So with that note, I would like to thank you everyone as part of the Australian Immigration Matters team. I would like to request you guys again to support us by joining our socials, by subscribing to our YouTube, and also become part of our Facebook community. Thank you very much, and we will be bringing more updates, more news, and more useful information for you guys very soon. Stay tuned, and thank you.